Have you ever just stared at the array of gunpla that's out there, the thousands upon thousands of kits, and just sighed to yourself wondering, why isn't there a bunny-themed Gundam model kit? Well, now there is. This right here is the high-grade Beguir Beu Torche from the Mobile Suit Gundam The Witch from Mercury manga, The Natis Heart. This thing looks ridiculous, this looks a whole lot of fun, and this is 100% a bunny mobile suit. And I know someone out there is going to say the wound ward, but that's not that bunny. It's a bit bunny, not quite bunny. This right here, this is full bunny. And if you do want one of these, all of your own, you can get yours exactly where I got mine. You can tell from that box it is P Bandai, so I got it from Bai, and you can too. Link in the description. Alright, so on cracking open the box, this right here is what we get. So we've got a manual that says everything in it, not like the one we saw yesterday where it was just the instructions only. So we have the whole blurb about the Beguir Beu Torche. Around in the back, some more information on the particular mobile suit. Immediately what I wanted to know about this particular mobile suit is what is with the massive legs. So these are referred to as the greaves, and these are for hovering in atmosphere, so under one gravity, or Earth's gravity. We've got 9 runners in total in here. We do have beam sabers and some stickers, it seems, but they seem like the usual Witch from Mercury kind of various power and shell unit kind of parts. So I actually just separated the runners right here into what is directly taking from the Beguir Beu, the original one, and what is brand new for the Torche. So as you can see, Torche stuff is a whole lot more than you'd expect. Well, more than I expect. It's just 2 reused runners, which means 7 ones brand new. So when it comes to the build of the legs, this section right here is exactly the same as the standard release Beguir Beu. These armor sections down here are similar, but I do think they are a little bit different. They just pop on like so. Then it's time to jump to the heel. It's just built out of 2 sections. The ankle right here is a C-clip, another C-clip onto the heel. The toe section on here is quite cool. You just pop this little bit on like so, then you have to bend it the whole way up in order to pop it onto the foot just like that. Once again, quite similar to the standard version. Then we've got a little bit of armor from here, and this is almost a standard Beguir Beu leg. Now is when it gets interesting. From here on, we're building the greaves, and these are quite cool. We've got a big old thick piece of armor, an arm section builds onto them that can extend and retract. Then we build the internal structure of the front part, which is almost like an additional leg. We've got a thruster round back, build up some ankle style armor with 2 sides on it that locks into place with another large piece of armor, larger even pieces of armor onto the side of it, a kneecap, and then that attaches onto the leg like so. And this is beautiful and massive. The actual hip joint is exactly the same as the standard Beguir Beu, including the sticker inside of that little clear section. Man, this is such a pure shade of white, it's blowing the camera right out. Anyway, we do have this little section which attaches in like so. This is for the hips, and there we go. That is both legs, and these are big and chunk, or at least they look like it. They actually just have this little section that moves on out of the way. That is a cool design. So next up now, moving on to the torso. And for the inner sections of this is very similar, if not the same as what we saw before, including that ridiculous little cockpit. The rest of it builds up, again like the standard Beguir Beu. Same down on the bottom end. There is the front section. The top and the bottom pop together. And although this armor right here does look incredibly similar to what we've seen on the previous kit, apparently the design of the armor is actually different because it is on a different runner. Anyway, there we go. Body complete. So anyway, now that we're onto the arm again, there are a lot of aspects shared with the standard Beguir Beu, primarily in the way just the kind of basic aspect of the arms built together. As far as I can see here, these colors match exactly with the standard Beguir Beu. I don't have mine handy right now, but all the attachments, including the wrist mounting attachments, are the same. The shoulder builds up the same. Just like in the hips, we do have a sticker for using on this section. It pops on in there, just like so. Clear piece for slotting in over that. The armor from the shoulder, now this is new and what changes the look of it quite a bit more. Make sure this section is attached all the way on, it can be a bit tough. The white armor sections attach on in like that, again blowing out the camera because they're so bright. And another new design piece of armor that pops in just like so. And this one's been giving me a bit of trouble on both sides. The hand is the simple usual way, just armor onto the back of a hand. The shoulder is one of these simple joints, just attaches together like so. And then finally just attach together everything that you've built so far. And there we go. All that's left now is the backpack section, or is it a waist unit attachment section? And I'm super excited about that. Oh yeah, and of course the head. So this right here along with the legs is something I'm incredibly looking forward to. This is basically the big old unit round the back. Actually, with the color and kind of bits going on in this is remind me a little bit of the Kimara's Trooper. Next up, we have to build two of these awesome looking binders, which has a little bit of a beam saber section that's meant to stay in the upper part, but hey, we've got this big old joint section, nice and thick, nice and strong. These two sections slam together like that. You pop the two sections we just built together like so. This then attaches in like this into a large piece of white armor. This section will move afterwards. The orientation of this part right here, the way you pop it in, makes this either a left or a right thruster. Upper bit of armor then sandwiches on like so. And then the purple detailing starts layering on like this, which also holds the two bits of white armor together. Beam saber pops in here and attaches on like that. Two halves make up this little arm section. We've got a hinge that attaches in to the bottom of that like so. This here is the shitty C-clip in question. So as you can see, this is just a small, delicate, non-reinforced C-clip that then pops on in here, and it's fine at first, but I'll just say it starts getting crappy really quickly. We've got another joint that attaches into the end of that, so it looks like so. Next up, building some of those Beguir Beu antidote balls. This one is a little bit different because on the little hole section there, we do have a nice little clear part which attaches on like this, making it look like a kind of cyborg eyeball. That's cool. That is what attaches onto this little segment, just like that. And then onto this binder section, we've got these little joints. It attaches on like so. And then the ball section attaches on up there, just like that. Pretty cool. We finalized that then with the central aspect. So these just slide on in. Oh, this is a nice design. As you can see in there, when this does slide in, they do kind of line up in there where they're going to lock into position via those two pegs when this is attached in, locking them in. Do they have any movement? No, they're just locked in. Nice. So finally now onto the head on this kit, and this is an either or build because this little purple section on the bottom, which is from the D runner, there is only one piece of this. I am, of course, going for the big bunny head. The other one is just fairly generic-ish looking with a bit of a extra mounted top. There are 3 stickers on this head, which, you know, is a little bit ridiculous for a head, but I guess they are shiny metallics, but they do block up some nice clear parts. However, we do have at least one clear part for on top, so at least we don't lose out on them completely. Simple, but awesome. So now onto the final assembly, and I cannot wait to see this put together. It is such a unique take on an already unique mobile suit. So there we go, leg followed by leg, and if I'm not mistaken, the Beguir Beu was the first, if not one of the first 2 Witch from Mercury kits released, and it's still pretty awesome till right now. And this variant is a whole lot of fun. Those are some big, thick legs. Bunny head pops up on top. That is incredibly cool. And finally, on with the butt. Alright, so finally now onto the articulation, and there is the high-grade Beguir Beu Torche in all of its glory. This thing is absolutely beautiful. It's so much fun. Basically, Bandai have taken this standard Beguir Beu concept and just made it ridiculously fun. Now, I will mention there are 2 head options in here. This one is the one I went for. This has a very bunny-ish vibe about it. This is for the Ken Aji team, and I feel like this is the one that is actually kind of shown the most inside the instructions, and the one that deviates more from the standard Beguir Beu kind of look. The other variant in here looks just like this, because this is the other variant. We're only missing one piece to actually have 2 heads in here, so that's a bit lousy on Bandai's part. It's just a little pink section that goes on the bottom here so it can attach onto the neck. But otherwise, this is in there with the full stickers and everything. Definitely a little bit of a cop-out, because otherwise it would just be a simple swap and change between the 2 if you ever wanted to swap them out. Now you actually have to remove some parts, which is a little bit more of a pain, and definitely, you know, it's just one single piece. Besides that though, both of these particular teams have the exact same mobile suit. The only thing that is different is the head. So the legs, the body, everything else, the binders around back are all completely the same. It's just the head that's the variant. There are a lot of incredibly cool design aspects to this particular kit. One of the most obvious ones is the massive thick legs. These really don't look like much else when it does come to Gundam model kits. On top of looking cool, these are cool because they are attached via a moving little segment right there, which means they can move out and you've got your typical Beguir Beu legs right here. But we do have a cool grabbing claw section inside of this. So these aren't just units to hover around the place and maybe some extra armor. They're also able to be used as an offensive weapon. And that is really nice. As for some other design aspects that make this different from what we would have seen before, the shoulders now have new armor up on top, and the non-kinetic pods have been adapted to the cool new flight or hover unit around on the back of this kit. Now, this does not attach onto the actual backpack adapter slot, so that does mean it is just hanging around back right here, just begging to be used with something else, and well, become a ridiculously over-the-top, over-equipped kit. And when it does come to things that look absolutely incredible, this section round back really does. It does have a whole bunch of various moving aspect to the thrusters. These can move in and out as well to kind of elongate it just like so, or to spread it apart like that. Again, cool design. This is a kit that does have some nice detailing on it. For example, this venting in the front of the legs. There is some other aspects as well, however, that kind of looked a little bit more dynamic in the actual pre-release pictures. For example, if we take a peek at this right here, all these little slots are blacked out, which does give it a nice little extra level of detail. Now, these are not present on the kit in anything but recessed parts. So it does mean if you want that extra level of dynamicness, you will have to color these in or panelline them in some way. Some more modern kits do, well, I suppose this is a modern kit, so I'm a little bit shocked, have some kind of sections coming in from underneath. But again, this isn't a kit with a typical Gundam grey internal structure, so I guess you couldn't really have cutouts to something like that. Easy enough to panelline these and make them pop though. So jumping into a bit of a size comparison, there it is beside two standard size Gundams, being the RX-78-2 and the high-grade Gundam Mark II Revive. Normal size Gundams, and as you can see, in general it's a normal sized kit, just with some big old legs and a big old, well, butt thruster. Beside a couple of kits from the exact same manga, that is the high-grade Rubris Anavata, or Anocta, depending on which you prefer, on the left, and on the right is the high-grade Rubris Jew. So jump now into the accessories, and here's everything that comes with the high-grade Beguir Beu Torche. First off, I will mention I'm actually impressed by how well this kit can crouch. The design of the legs and the greaves is fantastic. As for what we get in here, we've got that rear booster unit, alternate head, pair of beam sabers, beam rifle, and the arm-mounted beam gun units. So first up in here, when it does come to the included hands, we don't really get anything too special at all. It's just the generic standing holding hand, so there is no options, which is sad considering the hands on this are purple, so it will be hard to match. Definitely impossible to match with option sets. This mobile suit right here is a hovering unit, so it's about time to get it up on a stand so it can hover around the place. I'm using Good Smile Company's simple stand because for me it's just great. It doesn't wiggle, it's easy to pose, it's good and strong, and I can get it into perfect angles for the reviews. If you're curious about the attachment for the back unit, it is just a little tab like this. Not the most normal kind of attachment around, so it's not just a single 3mm peg in case you're planning on stealing it for another kit. Pops in, that didn't feel right. Whew, that made a click sound, I thought something broke. Okay, yeah, it has a funny joint on it, so be careful while guiding it in because I didn't actually know it's got another hinge which allows it to move down and up like so. So this does have a decent range of articulation. So first up, when it does come to the equipment, we've got these right here, which if I remember correctly are beam guns, which we saw on the standard Beguir Beu. We do have two of these. They attach onto the rear of the forearm, just like so. And like I mentioned, we do have two of these, but for whatever reason in the instructions, there's only ever one attached on, so I assume it's just a singular weapon like that. The option of using two of them, of course, is there. Next up in here is a pair of beam sabers. The beams are normal, and the handles are small and plain, just like we would have seen with the Beguir Beu. Popping these into the hands is the usual way. They just pop in like so. Super simple. Just attach the other one into this hand, reverse grip, again, just to kind of try it out. And no issues whatsoever. Hold on, I might be taking that back. these are, woo, these are super loose. I wouldn't really rely on this kit to hold onto them because it definitely, most certainly, will not. So getting this into a bit of a pose now, and there's this cool pose in the manual and the pre-release images of this particular mobile suit that looks incredible. I tried to pull this off, but this is such an atypical kit, it is a little bit on the difficult side to pose. Sometimes in the images it looks like the knees are bent, but then there is no knees really to be seen on this kit from some angles, so it was a little bit hard to pull off, but this right here is what I got. I'm happy with how it turned out, but it doesn't pose in the way that you think a kit should pose. If you're used to posing kits, it feels a lot different, and it's kind of fun for that. But yeah, what looks kind of dynamic from the front kind of looks a little bit funny from the side, but I suppose all three of these thruster units will be pushing it through the air, so I guess it does make sense. Anyway, when these beam sabers are not in use, just pull out the beam saber, get the beam on out of there, and just like we saw in the build on the sides of these binders right here, we've got these opening hatches, and that is where the beam sabers go when they are not in use. So they pop in like so, and then you can just close them up just like that. That is nice. So nice that I'm actually going to pull this kit out in like 5 or 6 years and have absolutely no clue where the beam saber handles are. The last bit of equipment we have in here is the beam rifle. This is simple enough, it's just 2 pieces slapped together, as well as a barrel up on the front, a little side to side moving handle down here. This may look like it does something, it does not. There's the standard handle, and we do have a big old long green foil for the sight. Popping this into the hand is simple, it just slides on in just like so, and that is what it looks like. If you want to hold it in both hands, you just flip up the handle and attach it into the other hand. I never use beam rifles in both hands, so I'm just going to leave it as it is right here, but that is a very nice long beam rifle. And just in case you're curious, there isn't anywhere on the mobile suit to store the rifle when it is not in use. You just have to either attach it on or put it somewhere for storage elsewhere. So finally now onto the articulation, and when it comes to the interesting aspects on here, the legs are probably the most interesting. These can pull out like this at 2 different points, so they can really move out. Like we've seen before, there are these little claw sections that can move out like so, that can move all the way forward. Either, I guess, for standing on the ground or for mashing some other mobile suits. And here we do have a little bit of a moving thruster in here as well. So this really does have a Key Mars Trooper feel about it. Awesome. The flight section on the back is truly unique. We've got these little ball sections, which are those antelope balls, which are known as the non-kinetic pods. These are attached on via arms. They can rotate at that point and close in just like so. There are the wing sections or the binder sections all the way out. They can move in just like this, and the bottom sections as well, these can move like that. On top of that, this can move down and up like so. So down is probably more of a kind of stored position for standing. Would have made it easier throughout the review if I'd actually known that. But yeah, let's get that test pose going. And honestly, there we go. I don't even know what to make of this. Just to get the rest of the legs into the position I normally would, these can really flare out to the front like 2 big grabbing claw arms. Honestly, I'm so distracted by that, I'm not really able to pay too much attention to the actual articulation. But the articulation on this is good and solid, it's nice. The body is exactly the same as the Beguir Beu, but there's a whole lot of extra fun stuff to play around with on this. Very cool. So there we go, another day, another gunpla. This one has actually shocked me. I gave the original Beguir Beu gold tier because it was an okay kit, though it was a bit lacking in comparison to a lot of the other Witch from Mercury kits, but what they've built onto this has really brought it to the next level. Sure, it is the exact same Beguir Beu at its core, but everything that's been added onto it just complements it perfectly. The head, the rear binder hover pack, as well as those big greaves cum claws, it's just so awesome. So that means it has to be upgraded to platinum, definitely. If you do want one of your own, I got mine through Buy. Link is down there in the description. As always, thank you so much for watching. Make sure to come back again tomorrow for another gunpla video. Once again, I can't have finished this video right here without special thanks to the channel members and the patrons over on Patreon, including Simon Paskin, Abraxas, Caleb Engelhart, Joe, RG59061, ShadowWolf179, Van Fawn, and Scotty Thomas.